Hello and welcome to Money Tips. This is Charles Kelly bringing you money tips to help you save, earn, invest, accumulate and enjoy more money. The headline there is quite clear. UK businesses have effectively been ordered to close down unless you're a supermarket or an essential business as they put it. Everyone else has been ordered to close their doors. So I've been out today and everyone is shut apart from a few banks are only opening part-time, which is really quite unhelpful, frankly. And even takeaways that could offer takeaway foods are not there, partly because some of them can't get supplies. Even big chains have said that they've closed their doors for the moment. But it really is like a ghost town. And this is part of the government's drive to keep people off the streets, and that they've ordered a virtual shutdown, as I've been predicting for the last week. The UK has been shut down and businesses have closed down, and it's more or less saying, well, over to you, Amazon, you can take over all of our business and we'll continue. And even the government's given them contracts to deliver some of the essential kits that are needed. And I don't know, it just seems very unfair to British businesses and British companies who pay tax in the UK, who pay council tax for their physical premises, and Amazon are kind of just been handed it on a plate, carte blanche. And meanwhile, the self-employed are at the moment being left high and dry, although we are expecting some sort of help from the government. The government is under pressure to give some help to the self-employed as they had to employed people. But Amazon are meanwhile taking on 100,000 new staff in America, and I believe 10,000 staff in the UK. But these will be largely pretty low-paid jobs in warehouses and delivering vans in a white van. I like using Amazon. I've used Amazon in the past, but you cannot just let thousands of businesses here go to the wall while Amazon just cleans up, and eventually we'll all be sitting in our houses getting stuff delivered by Amazon. And once Amazon control more and more of the business, then prices will go up and their profits will go up. Amazon is one of the largest companies in the world. Jeff Bezos is I think one of the richest men in the world, if not the richest men in the world. According to the list, there might be kings in Saudi Arabia that have more money than him, but certainly he is listed as the richest man in the world. And they've taken an iron grip on businesses. The high streets all over the country, even before this crisis, were dying. Companies like Debenhams were in trouble. Retailers have been around 100 years, and people are just seduced by this ease of, oh, let's go on Amazon and buy stuff on Amazon, and it comes in a nice box, and so what? Why don't you go and use the shops? And then Amazon work. But now with this coronavirus, it's virtually saying let's give everything to Amazon. That's the way I feel anyway. Now, yes, the government have announced this £370 billion government loan package, but where is it? If you try and talk to the banks, they don't know anything about it. There's no details. It's very difficult to find out anything about it on the website. On the government's own website, there is a helpline, which I'm putting on my website. You can find that out. There's a number there on that on the government website, but there's no information. And then when you try and ring the number, if you can get through, I tried all day yesterday to get through. I'll give you the number now: 0300 456 3565. That's 0300 456 3565. This is only for businesses obviously in the UK, but I rang it yesterday, couldn't get through. I got through to it today, and then you go through this: press 1 for this, press 2 for that. If you want this, if you want to find out about HMRC, go here. If you want to find out about that, go here. And they do everything they can to deflect it, like a batsman deflecting these balls and batting it over there and batting it over there. And then eventually it says, right, if you want to find out about this, stay on the line. It rings and rings, and then you're on the line, then cuts you off. I just got cut off, literally, and I just gave up from there. But that line, if you can get through, there might be some information there for you on how this scheme will work. Or contact your bank. This is the business support scheme where the government is supposed to be guaranteeing up to 80% of these loans. And they've apparently allocated £370 billion, which is just printed out of air. I don't know what it is. Well, it's not really money, is it? It's just government guarantees. But the banks are not putting this through to people. Now, they're supposed to be talking to the banks about this for the last few weeks. So where is it? Do you remember the last time the government gave the banks a load of money to lend? Lending actually tightened up. You remember the last time they reduced interest rates by 0.5% and then another 0.9%, I think, sorry, 0.5% down to 0.25%, and then another further almost 0.25% down to almost zero. The rates are now 0.1% now, the base rates. What happened to mortgage rates? They've gone up. Some of the banks have put their mortgage rates up after this big reduction in rates from 0.75% down to almost zero. That's 0.75% reduction. Banks and lenders have put their rates up. Yes, they've withdrawn discount rates, which is a con, because the discount rate would make it very cheap for borrowers. They're not offering tracker rates largely, and they're giving fixed rates at sort of 2% and 2% So they're making even more profit on our backs because they make up their own base rates. So how can you offer a fixed rate, say, a month ago, and then now with two drops in interest rates actually offer a higher fixed rate? It doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is the banks are going to make more profit out of this. Okay, so that's my little rant about the government, because as I said, thousands of businesses have been told to close. People have been told to go home. You can read all about that on the website. You don't need me to repeat that, but people are told, don't go out unless it's essential, like you're going to a medical visit or you're going out to buy food. How this is going to be enforced, I just don't know. You can go out for exercise once a day, apparently. Now, are they going to be tracking us on our mobiles to see what we're doing? We already know that they've been tracking us on mobiles. We already know that the government have new powers introduced last night, not for a temporary basis, but for 2 years, this new coronavirus bill. And countries all around the world have introduced very, very similar bills. Ireland have just announced theirs to give the government more powers to basically restrict our rights. And if you speak up against it, then you are the enemy of the state, because this is all about health and looking after the people. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, let's have more clarity on who is an essential worker, because people are still going to work today, and they've been crowded into trains. Why are they crowded into trains? Because Transport for London have reduced the trains. They're running a weekend service in London, knowing that people still need it to go to work. And Michael Gove was on the radio this morning with Nick Ferrari on LBC, and he asked Michael Gove about this. Why are trains running a weekend service, and then people are crammed into these trains? They can't keep their social distancing because they've got to get to work. And he said, well, only people who should go to use the trains if it's really necessary to use the trains. And Nick Ferrari, God bless him, said, with all due respect, Minister, they're not doing this for fun. They're not getting on a train at 6 a.m. for fun. They've got to go to work. And then he waffled on about something else. But obviously, a lot of people still are needed to go to work because not everyone can work from home. You can't do every job from home. It's different if you work on a computer, but a lot of jobs require you to be there. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion over this. The construction industry. Construction industry is one of the biggest industries in the country. It employs tens of thousands of people. And what's going to happen? I saw some building sites that were still operating today, but other building sites have closed down. I also noticed that companies, retailers supplying building materials are not considered essential. They're closed down. So if you need to do any work on your house at the moment, you can't get the materials anyway. And if you need some essential repairs done, where is that going to come from? Surely these people are essential workers and should continue. Work on bridges and tunnels on the Elizabeth line and HS2. I don't know what's going to happen there. But I think we need more clarity. We can't just say essential workers, they are just health workers and care workers. That's nonsense. There are lots of other things that are essential to run transport systems, building work, maintenance work. Otherwise, things are just going to crumble. So we need a bit more clarity there. And, if you're people will stay at home. People will abide by these rules. But I think at the same time, we need a bit more clarity on what are essential workers, and more help for the self-employed so that they can afford to stay home, because they can't live on £94 a week statutory sick pay. They need a bit more help than that. Otherwise, they're just going to continue going to work. Now, another serious thing is that well, I'll just talk about banks for a moment. A lot of bank branches are closing down, which doesn't really help oil the wheels of industry. People need their banks. They need to do, not everyone is online, not everyone can do everything online. But more serious than that is that we're coming up to the time in the quarter. Most commercial rents are paid quarterly. They have a funny system of paying these rents quarterly on certain dates. And this quarterly date is coming up very soon, I think this week. Now, many retailers said they can't afford to pay their rent, not when they're not trading. And companies like Burger King said, we're not going to pay our rent, which is astounding. So hundreds of these businesses will withhold rent, or they want to, it's actually due this Wednesday, or they want to renegotiate, or they want to pay it monthly rather than quarterly in advance. So that's going to be a big problem for landlords. Now you might say, so what? Landlords can afford it. But in fact, the landlords could be your pension scheme. In fact, it's more likely to be a pension scheme, especially in the big high streets, than a buy-to-let type of landlord. And even so, landlords who've bought these businesses and bought these shops and these premises and rented them out to what they would consider to be blue chip clients, perhaps need that rent to live on, to retire on. And in any case, it's more likely to be a pension scheme which will affect your pension scheme when you come to retire if they can't collect these rents, or if the rents have to be reduced, or if these retailers go bust because Amazon has taken over the world. It will affect you and I in our pension scheme. So spare a thought for them, and let's see what happens. We definitely, this is a very worrying time for everybody and the government, but we need to do more to help these smaller businesses and the self-employed who are not getting these help through the schemes that were announced last week. So I think that's all I can really say at the moment. Let's see what they announce later on this evening. Hopefully that there will be more help by the Chancellor Rishi Sunak to help the self-employed so that they can not have to go to work, and if they can't go to work, that they will not go hungry. And these include things like delivery drivers. If self-employed delivery drivers and Uber drivers are forced to go to work when they're not feeling well, that is going to infect other people, isn't it? If they can't take any time off. Don't forget there's also the gig economy. There's also these 0-hour contract workers, and they're not going to stay at home if they on £94 a week. They're going to just go out to work, and they will end up infecting people. So all of this would be for nothing. And I believe that if we take this firm action and people do stay at home and people are sensible, then yeah, we can get rid of this virus within a few months. I'm convinced of it. I think the curve will start to drop if the virus is not spread around as it has been. I was out today. There are people out exercising, but all large groups will be dispersed apparently, but then I couldn't see anybody out there doing any dispersing or being on hand to do any dispersing. But we know the police are on alert. We know the army are on alert. But anyway, let's see what happens there. So, and one other thing I find a little bit disturbing is this drive to get rid of cash. Now, for a long time, the powers that be want us to give up our cash and have everything digital. Now, yeah, a lot of people might think, well, that's great. We can all go around with our little cards, or we can do like in Sweden, put a chip in our skin and charge everything throughout this chip in our skin, which is the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. But now they've got another excuse to take our cash, to steal our cash, and that's the WHO, not the band The Who, the World Health Organization. In my opinion, a corrupt organisation, and they are now saying that coronavirus will be spread through cash. So this is like another excuse, another reason for us to see our cash disappearing. And I like my cash. I think it gives us that little bit of independence from the banking system, and I don't want to see it go. So I think we've got to do as much as we can to fight this conspiracy to get rid of our cash, because once they've got all our money digitally, then they can do what they like with it. They can devalue our money. They can take it away like they did in Cyprus. Remember, don't forget, look up Cyprus and what they did to people's money. They just stole it from them. The European Union was behind this. And I think we need to have our cash. And this is one of the reasons why there's been a surge in demand for gold and silver and gold coins and real money, real bullion money. And you can buy these gold coins everywhere. You can buy small amounts, large amounts, but there has been a surge in gold coins. If you try and ring any bullion dealer, a bullion doesn't mean it's millions of pounds. You can buy a few hundred, a few £1,000s worth of gold coins because people trust that they can see and feel gold in their hands. And gold prices, it hasn't necessarily been going up because a lot of people have been selling gold as well to cover positions on the stock market, but a lot of people have been piling into gold. There's definitely a surge in demand for gold coins and gold bullion because that is something that people can trust and believe in. Stock markets have recovered a little bit today in the UK and America. They've probably been up 5 or 6%, I believe, which is a good sign, but they're still at levels which are way down on earlier levels in January, perhaps still 30% down on what the stock market was in January, which to me is a stock market crash by any other name. But things are recovering partly because in America the Federal Reserve are close to agreeing a $1 trillion package to rescue the economy there. So there you go. Where do you put your trust? Do you put your trust in the dollar, in cash, or in the banks, or do you put your trust in gold? I know what I trust. Anyway, I trust myself. So thanks for listening. This is Charles Kelly, bringing you money tips to help you save, earn, invest, accumulate, and enjoy more money. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.